I'm still tasting blood when I open my eyes. The windshield's a spider web of cracks, and the world is upside down. Cold Maine fog is crawling in through the broken window like it wants to choke me. Gasoline drips somewhere close. Tick, tick, tick. Like a clock counting how many seconds I got left. I try to move and my ribs scream. My phone's somewhere under the seat, screen cracked to hell. I'm hanging by the seatbelt, hair sticky with blood. And then I hear it. Boots on wet gravel. Slow. Deliberate. A shadow falls across the window. An older woman in a dark wool coat, scarf up around her chin. The porch light from the road catches the silver in her hair. She leans down, looks right at me, eyes I've known my whole damn life. And then she straightens up and walks away. No scream, no help, just the crunch of her leaving. I whisper into the dark, voice cracked in half. Mama, why were you here? Welcome to Stories of Auntie Maya. I share new life stories here every day, and I'd really appreciate it if you hit subscribe and liked my video. Drop a comment down below telling me where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. I read every single comment, and it helps me to know I'm not alone in this. Hey, if you're still with me, hi, I'm Zadie Merrill, 32, third grade teacher at Otter Point Elementary. This is my phone, my channel, my messed up life. If you're up late like me, nursing coffee or wine or just the same old hurt, pull the blanket closer. I'm about to tell you everything, and I mean everything. Let's go back a little. Before the car decided to fly, 2 months ago I was still Mrs. Chadwick Merrill. Yeah, the Chadwick who can't keep a job longer than a lobster season but somehow always has new sneakers. I'd come home from school smelling like paste and playground mulch, and there he'd be on the couch, feet up, scrolling betting apps. I'd kiss the top of his head anyway because that's what you do when you're the good one. My sister Lena? She's the star, prosecutor in Portland, always in some crisp blazer on the news talking about justice. Mama, Ruth Merrill, still brags about Lena's law review like it happened yesterday. Me, I got Zadie so sweet with the kids, like that's code for you peaked at finger painting. I lost a baby 3 years ago, 16 weeks. They told me it was nobody's fault. Just one of those things. But at the hospital, Mama held Lena's hand while Lena told me, maybe it's a sign you're not meant to be a mother yet. Yet. Like I was still the little sister who needed permission. I smiled. I always smile. Swallowed it down with the Jell-O cup they gave me. Then great-gran died. 97 and sharp till the very end. The whole town showed up to the funeral. Black and Passamaquoddy families mixed in with the old white fishermen, because that's who we are here in Merrill's Cove. Matriarchs run things, always have. 3 days after we put Great-Gran in the ground, Mr. Francis knocked on the screen door with that same old leather folder, tucked under his arm like a Bible he didn't want to drop. Rain was dripping off the porch roof, steady, the way it does in March when winter refuses to leave. We were all crowded around the dining table again. Mama at the head, the way she always sits, spine straight like she's still wearing the corset she swears she threw out in '89. Lena on her right, perfect posture, nails tapping. Dorian beside Lena pretending to read emails on his phone. Chadwick slouched on my left, picking at a scab on his knuckle. Mr. Francis cleared his throat, opened the folder, and started reading in that slow church voice he saves for wills and funerals. Being of sound mind, I bequeath the entirety of the Merrill Harbor Holdings, comprising the commercial wharf, the 17 seasonal rental cottages, the Uplands parcel, and all associated mineral and title rights, to my great-granddaughter, Zadie Ann Merrill, to be held in sole and absolute ownership. The clock on the wall kept ticking. Nothing else moved. Lena's fork froze halfway to her mouth, mashed potatoes sliding off like they'd heard the news, too. Chadwick made this choking sound behind his napkin, eyes wide like somebody just told him the lottery ticket was real. Dorian set his phone down real slow, staring at the tablecloth like it had personally insulted him. Mama's palm slammed the table so hard the water glasses jumped and clinked. The braided rug under my feet soaked up the silence that followed. "That can't be right," Mama said, voice flat and sharp as a fillet knife. Read it again, Harold. Mr. Francis didn't even blink. I've read it 3 times, Ruth. It's plain. Mama turned those eyes on me, cold, gray, storm cloud eyes, and laughed once, short and mean. Zadie can't even keep a houseplant alive. She kills succulents, Harold. Succulents. Lena set her fork down with a clink. Great-Gran was 97, Mama. She was on all those pain pills. She knew exactly what she was doing, Mr. Francis cut in, gentle but firm, signed it in front of 2 witnesses and the notary. Zadie gets everything. Chadwick shifted beside me, leg bouncing under the table now. Everything? He asked, trying to sound casual and failing hard. Everything, Mr. Francis repeated, closing the folder like he was shutting a coffin lid. Mama leaned back in her chair, arms crossed so tight her knuckles went white. Well, she said, looking straight through me, we'll just see about that. I sat there feeling the heat crawl up my neck. Because Great-Gran had looked at me, really looked, every summer when I swept the fish shack or sat with the elders mending nets. She'd squeeze my hand and say, "You listen, child, that's the real power." I didn't sleep that night. I walked the harbor in the rain, boots squishing, thinking maybe for once somebody saw me. I should have known better. That was Thursday. Friday night, I was driving home from the IGA with 2 plastic bags rattling on the passenger seat. Milk, Cheerios, off-brand peanut butter, the same crap I always buy when I'm pretending everything's still fine. Radio was playing some old Whitney song, windshield wipers slapping slow. I even remember humming. Then the headlights in my rear view turned into suns. Big, bright, too damn close. I glanced up and saw the truck grill filling the mirror like a monster coming to eat me. My foot hit the brake on instinct. "Jesus!" I started to say, and that's all I got out. The impact punched the air from my lungs. My head snapped back, then forward, seatbelt cutting across my chest. The world flipped, once, twice, metal screaming, glass exploding like ice breaking. The guardrail peeled open like a tin can. I felt the car leave the road, felt that sick drop in my stomach you get on a roller coaster, except this one wasn't stopping. Everything went black. Next thing, I'm upside down, hanging, blood rushing to my head. Smell of gasoline everywhere, sharp and sweet, dripping somewhere under me. Cold air pouring in. My left arm won't move right. Something wet keeps sliding into my eyes. I hear gravel crunching, slow footsteps coming down the bank. I twist my neck, pain shooting everywhere, and look out the shattered side window. Dark wool coat, scarf pulled high, silver hair sticking out from the hood. Those eyes. Mama! She squats down, peers in at me like she's checking if the lobster in the trap is worth keeping. Blood drips off my forehead onto the roof below me. Plop, plop, plop. And she just watches it for a second. "Mama," I croak, tasting pennies. "Help, please." She doesn't move, doesn't scream for help, doesn't reach in. She stands back up, brushes a little dirt off her coat, and turns away. Footsteps fade up the bank, slow and steady, same way she walks out of church every Sunday like the queen of the damn county. I start laughing then, can't help it, because it hurts so bad it loops around to funny. My own mother just looked at me dying and decided I wasn't worth the trouble. My phone buzzes somewhere near my hip, stuck between the seat and the roof. Keeps buzzing. I fish it out with my good hand, screen spider-webbed but still lit. Bank alert, red banner. Transfer request. $250,000 pending approval. Merrill Harbor Holdings account IP address. 172.V6, Tsal 12. I stare at it until the letters blur. Chadwick hasn't even called. Hasn't come. But somebody sure wants my money quick. Fog rolls in thick, wrapping the car like a shroud. Sirens finally wail somewhere far off, getting closer. I close my eyes, still hanging there like a broken doll, and whisper to nobody and everybody, "You want the harbor? Come get me first." And I laugh, short, sharp, ugly, because for the first time in my life, I'm not the quiet one anymore. I'm the one they tried to kill. Stick around, sweetheart, because tomorrow I start asking questions, and I'm done being sweet. If you've ever smiled while somebody cut you down, if you've ever been the spare daughter, the throwaway wife, type, "I see you" in the comments. I'll read every single one when they let me out of this hospital. And Mama, if you're watching, I'm coming for the truth. You ever open your eyes in the hospital and the first thing that hits you isn't "thank God I'm breathing"? It's pure red-hot rage? That was me. Tubes in my arm, heart monitor beeping like it's annoyed too, and all I can think is, where the hell is my husband? Nurse with the pink scrubs keeps patting my hand, calling me sweetie, pushing another dose of morphine that barely takes the edge off. My ribs feel like someone took a baseball bat to them. My shoulders purple and swollen, stitched up like a football. Every breath tastes like I licked the inside of a tailpipe. But the real stab, that plastic chair beside my bed is empty, cold. Nobody's even sat in it long enough to warm it up. Around noon, the door swings open and in walks Chadwick, moving slow like he's doing me a favor by showing up. Brand new black wool coat, still got the tag tucked inside the cuff, shiny buttons, smells like he bathed in some expensive cologne that costs more per ounce than the pain meds dripping into my vein. He doesn't come to the bed, doesn't lean over, doesn't touch me, doesn't even look at the bandages, just stands there at the foot, thumbs dancing over his phone. Finally, he glances up, does that little head tilt he thinks is cute. "Hey babe, rough couple days, huh?" I wait, nothing else comes. "That's it." My voice sounds like I gargled glass. "Rough couple days?" He shrugs, pockets the phone. "I mean, you're alive. That's good." Then he looks around like somebody might be listening and drops his voice. "So, the harbor thing, any paperwork come through yet? Like, is it officially in your name now?" I stare so hard my eyes burn. "Chadwick." I taste blood every time I speak. "I almost died. I'm hooked to 6 machines and you're asking about money?" He has the nerve to sigh, like I'm the one being dramatic. "I'm asking because I care, Zadie. That's a lot coming our way. We gotta be smart about it. People are already talking." People. I laugh and it feels like dying. "You mean you?" He shifts his weight, new coat creaking. "Look, just tell me if the lawyer called. Simple question." I close my eyes. The monitor beeps faster. "Get out." "Zadie." "Get out." He stands there another few seconds, then mutters something under his breath and leaves. Door clicks soft behind him. That cologne lingers like a threat. I lie there staring at the ceiling tiles, counting the little black specks, and I swear on everything holy. The pain in my body is nothing compared to the burn starting in my chest. Because my husband didn't come to see if I was okay. He came to see if I was finished. That night, the hospital room was dark except for the green glow of the heart monitor and the little red light on my IV pole that blinked like it was keeping secrets. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I was back in the car, upside down, smelling gas and watching those boots walk away. Then my phone lit up on the rolling tray. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Like it was mad, too. I reached for it, pain shooting down my cracked ribs, and swiped the screen with the only finger that still worked right. Bank of Maine, security alert. Unauthorized login attempt, Merrill Harbor Holdings master account location, 172.56, 34118 Cumberland County Prosecutor's Office, 3rd floor, Portland, ME time 11:47 p.m. I read it 3 times. My mouth went dry. I opened the full log. Someone had entered my username, my password, the one I never wrote down anywhere, tried to initiate a transfer of $250,000 to an offshore account. Failed only because the bank wanted my fingerprint. But they got that far. 3rd floor. That's Dorian's kingdom. Dorian who has a corner office with the big windows. Dorian who always says justice is blind, while he smiles like he owns the whole damn courthouse. I whispered into the dark, "You son of a bitch." A nurse poked her head in. "You okay, hun? Need more pain meds?" "No," I croaked. "Just thinking." She left. The door side shut. I held the phone to my chest like it was proof, like it was a loaded gun. The screen went black and my own reflection stared back. Swollen eye, stitches, dried blood in my hair. I laughed once, quiet and cracked. "Lena's perfect husband," I said to the empty room. "Perfect little family, huh?" The morphine finally pulled me under, but even as the ceiling blurred, I kept seeing that IP address glowing red. And for the first time since the crash, the fog in my head cleared enough for one thought to cut clean through. Maybe that truck didn't find me by accident. Maybe it was sent. They let me out 3 days later with a brown plastic bottle that rattled like maracas and a pamphlet that said, "Call 911 if you feel like dying." I signed the discharge papers with my left hand because my right shoulder still wouldn't lift higher than my waist. The nurse hugged me and smelled like lavender and pity. Mama called before I even got home. "Family dinner tonight," she said like it wasn't a question. "We need to thank the good Lord you're still breathing." Click. So there I was, 6 o'clock sharp, crutching up the same porch steps I learned to walk on. The house smelled exactly the same: chowder, lemon polish, and the faint salt that never leaves anything in this town. Same braided rug in the hall, same Jesus picture watching from above the doorway like he already knew how this was going to go. I pushed the dining room door open with my crutch. Everybody was already seated and eating, forks moving, conversation humming. Nobody got up. Nobody even paused. Mama stood at the head of the table ladling thick haddock chowder into bowls like she was crowning kings and queens. Lena sat ramrod straight in her navy blazer, hair twisted up so perfect it looked sprayed on. Dorian kept glancing at his watch like the potatoes might charge him overtime. Chadwick was halfway through his second beer, new black coat slung over the back of his chair, collar turned up like he thought he was in a damn cologne ad. I eased into the only empty seat, crutches clattering against the legs. The room went polite quiet, the kind of quiet that screams. Mama set a bowl in front of me without looking up. Steam curled between us. "Zadie, honey," she started, voice sweet enough to rot teeth. "Sit, eat. We've been praying for you." I didn't touch the spoon. She kept going, still not meeting my eyes. "We've all talked it over. That harbor's a heavy load, too heavy for one person, especially after everything you've been through. Lena's kindly agreed to step in and manage things till you're stronger." Lena reached over and patted my hand like I was 5. "It's for your own good, sis. You need rest." Chadwick lifted his beer in a lazy toast. "Family first, right? We just want what's best for everybody." I stared at the chowder. Little pieces of potato floating like tiny white lies. I picked up the spoon, set it down again, real slow. "You mean what's best for everybody at this table who isn't me?" Mama's ladle stopped mid-air. Her eyes finally locked on mine, gray and hard. "Don't you take that tone with me, Zadie Ann. You've always been the fragile one. We all remember how you fell apart when you lost that baby. Crying for weeks. Couldn't even get out of bed. Nobody wants you carrying that kind of weight again and breaking all over." Fragile. The word landed like a slap I'd been waiting 32 years to feel again. I pushed my chair back. The legs screamed across the pine floor, loud enough to make Dorian flinch. "I'm not hungry," I said. I grabbed my crutches, stood up too fast, pain shooting white-hot through my ribs. Nobody moved to help. I looked at every one of them, slow, like I was memorizing their faces for a police sketch later. "Y'all enjoy your supper." And I walked out while the chowder went cold behind me. I crutched out of that dining room and their voices didn't even dip, just kept right on talking about closing costs and lease renewals like I'd already turned into a ghost. The screen door slapped shut behind me and I stood on the porch a second, salt wind cutting through my thin sweater, listening to my own family divvy up my life like it was leftovers. That night, the pills sat on the kitchen counter doing nothing. My ribs throbbed, my shoulders screamed, but the hurt inside was louder. I grabbed my keys, left the bottle unopened, drove one-handed to the county land office with the moon hanging low over the water like it was watching too. Great Grand's old brass key still fit the side door, same as when I was 19 and she'd hand me coffee and rent envelopes. Place was dead quiet, only the hum of the vending machine and the red exit sign bleeding over everything. I found the new filings cabinet third drawer down, manila folder so thick it barely closed, my name typed neat across the tab, Merrill, Zadie Ann, guardianship. I pulled it under the exit light. Petition for emergency asset guardianship. Petitioners Chadwick R. Merrill, spouse, Lena M. Grant, sibling, Dorian T. Grant, sibling-in-law. Reason for urgency. Ward is psychologically unstable following 2022 miscarriage and recent traumatic motor vehicle incident. History of depressive episodes, suicidal ideation, and inability to manage daily affairs. Risk of self-harm and irreversible financial mismanagement imminent. Attached medical affidavit. Signed in Mama's Perfect Catholic School cursive, Ruth Eleanor Merrill. I whispered it out loud just to make it real. My own mother told the court I'm crazy. My crutches started shaking so hard the rubber tips squeaked on the tile. I had to lean against the cabinet or fall. I shoved everything back messy, locked up, drove home through fog so thick the headlights just died 10 feet ahead. Pulled into our driveway and killed the engine, but couldn't make myself go inside yet. That's when I saw it. White rectangle tucked under the wiper blade, flapping once in the wind. I opened the door, cold air slapping me awake, reached across the hood with my good arm, fingers numb, and snatched the paper. Plain printer paper, folded once. Block letters in thick black Sharpie. Next time we won't miss. I stood there so long the porch light flickered on by itself. Motion sensor. Chadwick moved past the living room window, phone to his ear, laughing at something somebody said. New coat still on, like he'd been waiting for a celebration that never came. I looked down at the note again, then up at the dark windows, and I swear the house looked back at me like it already knew I didn't belong anymore. A dog barked 2 streets over, sharp, then nothing. I folded the paper small, slipped it into my pocket next to Great Grand's key, and felt something shift inside my chest, something cold and final. They didn't just want the harbor and the cottages and the money. They wanted me erased, and they almost did it. I sat in that cold car with the note burning against my leg and the fog pressing the windows until I couldn't tell what was outside and what was already inside me. Whoever wrote this is close. Close enough to touch my car while I was gone. Close enough to watch. I pressed my forehead to the steering wheel and said it quiet, like a promise to the night. Come for me again, and you'll see who's fragile. I didn't sleep after the note. Just sat in the car till the windows dripped and the note got soft in my fist. When the sky turned that sick gray before dawn, I drove to the harbor. Figured the gulls wouldn't lie to me. I was sitting on the bench by the bait shack, wind cutting straight through my coat, when I heard boots on the planks behind me. Still fits you, that bench, a voice said. Low, familiar, like a song I forgot I knew. I turned. Callum Dyer. Same dark eyes, same half smirk he wore in high school detention. Older now, laugh lines and a little gray at the temples, but still tall enough to block the wind. He held out a paper cup of coffee. Figured you'd be here instead of home. I took it. Our fingers brushed, and I didn't flinch. What are you doing up this early, counselor? Could ask you the same, Miss Merrill. He sat without asking. Saw a black truck hauling ass away from the crash that night. No lights. Almost clipped me on Harbor Road. Been thinking about it ever since. I stared at him. You saw the truck? Saw it. Memorized the plate. He pulled a folded scrap from his coat pocket, smoothed it on his knee. Told myself if you were breathing, I'd bring it to you. Old debt, Zadie. You kept my little sister out of foster care when Mama drank herself dead. I paid debts. I laughed, wet and shaky. That was 15 years ago. Interest compounds. He nudged my shoulder. Let's go find your truck. We started with the harbor security cam, the one Great Grand made them install after some kids torched a dinghy. Callum sweet-talked the old watchman into letting us in. Grainy footage, but clear enough. Black Ford F-250, no front plate, dented bumper. Hits my little Honda dead on, keeps going. Callum froze the frame, zoomed. Rear plate, main commercial. That's a shell, he muttered. Registered to Pine State Holdings, LLC. Guess who the registered agent is? I already knew. Dorian. Bingo. Next stop, the ATM across from the package store. Same truck, same night, 40 minutes before the crash. Driver in a black hoodie gets out, withdraws cash. Face never shows, but the build is solid, twitchy. Callum traced the LLC through some lawyer database he shouldn't have access to. Dead ends, then a bank drop. 25 grand cash into an account that bounces straight to a guy named Travis Bragg. Local. Petty record, as long as the jetty. By afternoon, we had Travis's address, a trailer off Route 1 with one flat tire and a pit bull that didn't like visitors. We didn't have to knock hard. That evening, Mama called, said she was bringing me soup because a mother worries. I let her in. She bustled around my kitchen like she hadn't signed papers calling me insane, set a Tupperware on the counter, wiped her hands on the dish towel she still keeps here. "You look thin," she said, eyeing the bruise on my cheek. All this stress over property that should stay with the one truly worthy of holding ancestral assets. She gave me this look, sharp, almost proud, and turned back to the sink. I froze, spoon halfway to my mouth. "What did you just say?" She kept scrubbing a pot that was already clean. "Nothing. Eat your soup." The one truly worthy. Same words the driver used. I'd bet my life on it. Callum texted at 10. Found Travis. Meet at the old cannery, midnight. I parked behind the shuttered building. Fog so thick the headlights just died. Callum leaned against his truck, arms crossed. Travis stood under the single street lamp, shaking like a wet dog, hands jammed in his pockets. "I ain't going down for attempted murder," he spat before I even got out. Was only paid to scare her, push her off the road, make it look drunk or whatever. Nobody said kill. Callum's voice was calm ice. "Who paid you, Travis?" Travis looked at me, then away. "Older woman. Met me at the Mobile on 136. Deep voice. Wool scarf up to here." He raised a trembling hand to his nose. Cash in a manila envelope, said, "Keep the property in the right hands." Said if I talked, she'd find me. People like that, they find you. My knees almost gave out. Deep voice. Wool scarf. I could smell the lavender soap Mama uses, feel her eyes looking down into my upside-down car. Callum stepped closer. "Name, Travis." He shook his head hard. "Can't. She'll know." I found my voice. "She already knows where I live. Left me a note. Next time we won't miss. That sound familiar?" Travis went white as fish belly. "I swear I only did the one job. Swear on my kids." I believed him. He was too stupid to lie good. I looked at Callum across the roof of the truck. Fog swirled between us like it was trying to keep the secret a little longer. Mama's boots on the gravel, Mama's scarf, Mama's voice. If you've ever heard your own mother order your death in the same tone she uses to order lobster rolls, tell me in the comments. I need to know I'm not the only one still breathing after that kind of knife. The next morning, the fog sat on the water so thick you couldn't tell where the sea ended and the sky began. I drove back to Travis Bragg's trailer with Callum riding shotgun and the note, "Next time we won't miss," burning a hole in my pocket. Travis opened the door before we knocked, eyes red, cigarette shaking between his fingers. The pit bull stayed inside, growling low. "I told you everything," he said, voice cracking. "I got kids." Callum leaned against the doorframe, calm as death. "Describe the woman again, every detail." Travis swallowed. Older, maybe 60, 65, gray hair pulled back tight, dark wool coat, long, scarf up over her mouth, dark green or black, voice like gravel, smelled like that old lady soap, the purple kind. She never took the scarf down, just talked through it. Handed me the envelope and said if I ever opened my mouth, she'd know, and my kids would pay first. I felt my stomach drop straight through the porch boards. "That scarf," I said, barely a whisper. "Has little red flecks in the weave?" He nodded slow. "Yeah." "How'd you know?" "Because Mama knitted it herself 2 Christmases ago. Sat in her rocker for weeks with that red and black yarn great-gran gave her. I'd recognize it blindfolded." I stepped closer. "Say her name, Travis." He backed up, shaking his head hard. "I can't. She warned me. Said people disappear around here when they talk." Callum put a hand on his shoulder. Gentle, but Travis still flinched. "She's not the only one who can make people disappear. Say it." Travis looked at me, tears cutting clean tracks through the dirt on his face. "Your mama, Zadie. Ruth Merrill. It was Ruth." The wind off the bay cut straight through my coat, but I didn't feel cold. I felt nothing, just this hollow ringing in my ears like I was still upside down in the car. I left Travis crying on his steps and drove to Great Grand's house. The place still smelled like her. Wood smoke, salt, and that sharp mint tea she drank. Nobody had touched her bedroom since the funeral. I shut the door, leaned my back against it, and slid down to the floor like my legs forgot their job. There was a loose floorboard under the braided rug. I pried it up with shaking fingers. Inside, a small cedar box. Inside that, one envelope addressed to me in Great Grand's spidery handwriting. "For Zadie. Open when they come for what's yours." I tore it open. "My dearest Zadie girl, if you're reading this, I'm gone and the wolves are circling. You always were the quiet one, but quiet ain't weak. Quiet is the ocean before it decides to take the shore. I watched your mama raise Lena on a pedestal and grind you into the dirt for sport. That ain't our way. Our line, the real maternal line, comes through the women who tend, not the ones who posture. You sweep the fish house, you sit with the elders, you remember the stories. Lena only remembers the applause. Ruth thinks because she birthed daughters she owns the legacy. She don't. The harbor was never hers to give or take. It follows the blood that honors it, and that blood chose you. Protect it, child. Protect yourself. They will try to say you're crazy, broken, less. Don't believe them. I see you clear. All my love and all my fight. Great Gran." I read it 3 times sitting on her cold floor, tears dripping onto the paper until the ink blurred. She knew. She saw them coming for me years ago and still picked me anyway. I folded the letter small, tucked it inside my bra next to my heart, and something inside me cracked, wide open. Not broken, open, like a fist finally letting go. I drove to Callum's office above the hardware store. He was at his desk, 2 monitors glowing, coffee long cold. "Travis confirmed it," I said, voice flat. "It was Mama." He looked up slow. "I know, I just pulled the mobile station footage. Timestamp matches. Clear shot of the scarf, the coat, and her face when the wind caught the scarf down for half a second." He turned the screen. There she was, my mother, handing a fat yellow envelope to the man who tried to kill me. She even looked straight at the camera for 1 heartbeat, like she knew it was there and didn't care. I watched it on loop until the room spun. Callum reached across the desk and stopped the video. His hand covered mine, warm, steady. "Zadie?" She wasn't doing this alone. There's someone else. I looked at him and felt the darkness rush in, cold and thick. "Who?" I asked. He turned the second monitor toward me. Bank transfer. Same night. 10 grand from an account labeled LMG Trust. Lena Merrill Grant. My sister. I didn't go home that night. Couldn't. I just drove the back roads till the tank coughed, then parked behind Callum's office and slept sitting up. Great Grand's letter against my chest like armor that didn't quite fit anymore. Morning came cold and bright, the kind of clear that hurts your eyes. Callum was already at his desk, hood up, fingers flying over a keyboard that definitely wasn't supposed to get him into the Cumberland County Prosecutor's internal server. "Coffee's hot and the warrants are fake," he said without looking up. I dropped into the cracked vinyl chair beside him, so hard the wheels squeaked. "Show me, Callum, now." He spun the laptop like it was evidence in court. My full name glared back at me in bold. Merrill, Zadie Ann, psychiatric evaluation. Date at the top. 2 weeks before the crash. 2 weeks before anybody even knew Great Gran was leaving me the harbor. I scrolled. My throat closed up. "Acute depressive episode with psychotic features," it read. "Patient presents suicidal ideation, auditory hallucinations, history of self-harm. Recommendation, immediate involuntary commitment to secured facility. Signed, Helen Cho, MD, Portland Behavioral Health. I let out one sharp laugh that hurt my ribs. I have never laid eyes on Dr. Helen Cho in my entire life. Callum's voice was flat, furious. That's because Dr. Cho retired to Sarasota 18 months ago. Dorian reactivated her old login. Look at the metadata. He clicked a side panel. Every entry timestamped from an IP ending in .gov. Prosecutor's office, 3rd floor. I kept scrolling, bile rising. Fake therapy notes from sessions I never attended. Patient tearful claims voices tell her she is worthless. Pharmacy records for lithium and Seroquel I never filled. A supposed suicide attempt last March. Overdose on sleeping pills. I was in Bangor that weekend, grading state tests with 20 other teachers. Jesus, I whispered. He invented a whole breakdown. Callum leaned closer, pointing at the screen. See this? He even attached a scanned consent form with your signature. Forged. I ran it against the closing docs you signed last year. The loops on your Ys don't match. I stared at my own name lying there like a corpse he'd dressed up to look like me. He built a paper cage, I said, voice shaking. One signature from a judge and I'm locked up for good. Callum closed the laptop slow like he was shutting a coffin. He didn't just build it, Zadie. He's already rolling it toward the hearing tomorrow morning. I looked at him and felt the room tilt. That's my life on that screen, I said, and my brother-in-law wrote it like a damn horror story. Fast. Dr. Cho retired to Florida last year, Callum said. Dorian used her old credentials and backdated the file. He built a whole paper trail. Therapy notes, pharmacy records for meds you never picked up, even a fake suicide attempt in 2023, all stamped with prosecutor office IP. I stared at the screen till the letters swam. My own life, rewritten like a bad term paper. Callum clicked another tab. There's more. He attached it to the guardianship petition. Once the judge signs, you're legally incompetent. They lock you up. Lena becomes conservator. Harbor gets sold to some LLC they already set up. Clean. Permanent. I felt the walls lean in. How long do we have? Hearing scheduled for tomorrow. Emergency docket. Dorian pulled every string he's got. I stood up too fast, ribs screaming. I need air. I walked the harbor until my legs gave out, sat on the same bench where Callum found me yesterday. Gulls screamed overhead like they knew. That's when I saw Lena's SUV pull into the parking lot of the Wharf Cafe. She and Dorian got out, heads together, talking fast. I was downwind. The wind carried their voices straight to me. I slipped behind the bait shack and listened like the coward I never thought I'd be. Lena's voice, low and sure. As soon as Zadie gets committed to the facility, everything will fall back into place. Mama says 2 weeks tops. They'll sedate her, she'll sign whatever we put in front of her, and it's done. Dorian laughed, that smug prosecutor laugh. Already talked to Judge Hargrove. Owes me from the election. One signature and little sister disappears legally. No body, no crime. My knees hit the gravel. I tasted blood where I bit my tongue to stay quiet. Lena again, softer. You think Mama will really go through with it? Locking her own daughter away? Mama's the one who paid the driver, Dorian said. She's all in. I stayed there till their footsteps faded, till the SUV pulled away. Then I threw up behind the dumpster like a teenager. When I got back to Callum's office, my hands wouldn't stop shaking. He looked up, read my face, didn't ask. I went straight to the window that overlooks our driveway. Chadwick's truck sat there, driver door open. He was on the phone, pacing, voice carrying through the screen. Yeah, Dorian, I held up my end, he hissed. Kept asking about the transfer, kept her distracted. Where's the rest of the promised money? You said 50 once it's done, not 25 up front. Pause. Don't threaten me, man. I'm her husband. I have rights too. Another pause. Fine. But the minute that judge signs, I want my cut wired. And the boat. You promised the boat. He hung up, slammed the truck door, and went inside whistling. I stood frozen at the window until Callum came and stood behind me. It's the whole damn family, I whispered. Callum's hand settled on my shoulder, steady. Not the whole family. You still got you, and you got me. His phone buzzed. He read the screen and the color drained from his face. What? He turned it so I could see. Email forward from a court clerk he must have paid off. Tomorrow, 8 a.m., Chambers of Judge Hargrove. Emergency guardianship hearing. Petitioners: Ruth Merrill, Lena Merrill Grant, Dorian Grant. Subject line: ex parte. No notice required to ward. They weren't even planning to tell me. They were coming to take me tomorrow morning like a package that got delivered to the wrong address. I looked at Callum and felt something inside me go very still. Let them try, I said. I sat at Callum's kitchen table with the laptop open, watching the same 5 seconds on loop, like it could change if I stared hard enough. Mobil station, 11:06 p.m., 3 nights before the crash. Grainy, but clear enough. Mama steps out of her old black Suburban, wool scarf up to her eyes, envelope thick as a sandwich in her gloved hand. Travis takes it, nods once, gets back in the truck that would ram me off the road 40 minutes later. She looks straight into the camera for half a heartbeat, like she's daring the world to say something, and walks away. Callum finally closed the lid. "That's your mother, Zadie, no question." I laughed, but it came out wet. "Yeah, that's Ruth Merrill doing errands." I drove to her house at dawn, the sky still bruised purple over the water, fog curling off the bay like it was trying to hide what I was about to do. The porch light glowed the same soft yellow it had every morning of my childhood, the one she always left on in case one of her girls came home early. She opened the door before I even knocked, robe tied tight, hair still in the same gray bun she slept in, coffee mug steaming in her hand like nothing in the world had changed. "Morning, baby," she said, voice soft as fresh butter, smile small and warm. "Lord, you're up early. Come in out the cold before you catch your death." I stepped inside. The house smelled exactly the same: Folgers, lemon oil, and the faint lavender of her soap. I shut the door behind me with a click that sounded too loud. She turned toward the kitchen. "Let me get you a cup." I pulled my phone out, thumb already on the screen. "Sit down, Mama." She stopped, eyebrows up. "Zadie?" I hit play. The video filled the quiet living room, gas station lights harsh on her face, wool scarf slipping just enough, envelope thick with cash changing hands, Travis nodding, Mama looking straight into the lens like she owned the night. She watched every second without moving, without blinking. When it ended, the only sound was the old clock ticking above the mantel and the soft hiss of her coffee cooling. She set the mug down real careful, like it might explode. Hands folded in her lap exactly the way she used to make us fold them for prayer. I waited for tears, for that's not me, for anything human. Nothing came. Finally, she looked up, eyes steady, voice calm as Sunday scripture. "The ancestors would be disappointed if the harbor fell into the wrong hands, Zadie." My knees almost buckled. "That's your answer?" My voice cracked like ice. "You paid a man to put me in the ground and you quote the ancestors?" She didn't flinch. "I paid him to keep our legacy safe. From you." I felt every drop of blood leave my face. "You paid a man to kill me." "No," she corrected gentle. "I paid him to scare you. Put you in the hospital long enough for us to get guardianship. You weren't supposed to flip. That was his mistake." Her mistake. Like ordering murder was picking the wrong pie at the bake sale. "You looked down at me in that car," I said, voice cracking. "I was bleeding, Mama. I called for you." She met my eyes steady, and I walked away because sometimes love means doing the hard thing. Love? I started crying then. Ugly, loud, the kind I hadn't let out since the miscarriage. Tears and snot and every hurt I ever swallowed because I was the good one. She reached for me. "Zadie." I jerked back so hard I hit the wall. "Don't touch me." Something in her face flickered. Not regret, just disappointment that I was making this difficult. I wiped my face with my sleeve. "You, Lena, Dorian, Chadwick, Y'all sat around that table and decided I'm too broken to breathe without permission." She lifted her chin. "You've always been fragile. We're protecting the line." I laughed through the tears. "The line? Great-Gran wrote me a letter, Mama. Said the harbor follows the women who tend it, not the ones who posture. She knew you'd try this. She saw you clear." Mama's mouth tightened. Old woman was half blind and full of pills. "No," I said, and my voice didn't shake anymore. "She saw me. For once, somebody saw me." I stepped closer, close enough to smell her coffee and the lavender soap that used to mean safety. "No one gets to decide my worth," I told her. "Not you, not Lena, not the ancestors. Me, only me." She looked at me like I was a stranger wearing her daughter's skin. I walked out without another word, left her standing in her perfect kitchen with the video still glowing on my phone. Callum was waiting in his truck outside. I got in, slammed the door. "She admitted it," I said, "didn't even flinch." He nodded slow, started the engine. "I just pulled the clerk's calendar. They moved the emergency hearing up, tonight. They're calling it a family dinner at the house. Judge Hargrove's coming personally. Less paperwork if you sign the commitment papers voluntary." A laugh ripped out of me, wild, half crazy. "They're throwing a party to lock me up." Callum looked over, eyes fierce. "Then we crash the party." He reached behind the seat, pulled out a thick folder and a thumb drive. "Everything's here," he said. "Video, forged records, bank transfers, Travis's statement on video, all time-stamped and backed up 6 ways." I took the folder like it was a loaded gun. "They want a family dinner?" I said. "Fine. Let's give them one they'll never forget." We turned Callum's little office above the hardware store into something that looked like a murder investigation, because that's exactly what it was. Every inch of desk was covered. Thumb drives lined up like bullets, color printouts of forged psych reports, bank transfers circled in red, the mobile station video paused on Mama's face, Great-Gran's letter photocopied so many times the words felt burned into my brain. We even had Travis's shaky cell phone confession queued up and ready. I couldn't stop touching the red wool coat hanging on the back of the door. Thick, salt-stained, still carrying the faint smell of fish scales and cedar smoke. Great-Gran wore it every dawn when she sat me on the dock and taught me how to mend nets with fingers that never once trembled. Callum caught me running my thumb over the frayed cuff for the 10th time. "Put it on tonight," he said, voice low. "Walk in wearing her. Let every single one of them remember whose blood they're really trying to wash out." I met his eyes and felt something lock into place inside my chest. "Yeah," I said, "I will." He laid 2 phones on the desk, both set to record, both streaming live to a cloud folder only he and I could reach. "Here's how it goes," he said, walking me through it like a coach before the championship game. "You walk in calm, shoulders down. Let them smell blood in the water. They'll think the quiet little sister finally broke. Wait till Dorian does his big prosecutor smile and slides the commitment papers across with the coffee. That's when you open the folder. Not before." I nodded slow. "And if they try to grab me?" "State boys are already on standby at the old fish plant 2 miles out. I call. They roll in under 4 minutes. But we don't want cops yet. We want them on video admitting everything first." He tapped the stack of evidence. "Timing is everything, Zadie. 1 wrong heartbeat and they'll have you zip-tied and sedated before the first clip finishes." I picked up the red coat, slid my arms into sleeves that still remembered Great-Gran's shape. "They spent 32 years teaching me to wait my turn," I told him, buttoning it slow. "Teaching me to smile while they took bites out of me. Tonight, I stopped waiting." Callum looked at me like he was seeing someone new. "That's the woman Great-Gran wrote the letter to," he said. I zipped the evidence folder inside the coat, right over my heart. "Let's go set the table." By late afternoon, the sky had gone that thick, bruised pewter that only means one thing in Maine: heavy snow before morning. Flakes were already swirling, lazy past the streetlights when I pulled into our driveway to grab the red coat and whatever was left of the life I used to pretend was mine. Chadwick was on the porch, boots stomping, phone glued to his ear, pacing the same 3 boards like a penned-up hound. Half a six-pack gone, cheeks red from cold and cheap beer. He never even heard my car. "Yeah, man, listen," he laughed, words sliding together. "Tonight's the night. Judge is coming to Mama's little family dinner. Soon as Zadie signs that facility intake form, boom, it's over. She disappears into some nice quiet hospital. I get the new boat, the cash, the whole damn dream. Tell Tommy he can have my old Chevy for parts. Hell, throw in the toolbox, too." He tipped the bottle back, throat working, then wiped his mouth with the sleeve of that shiny black coat he bought with blood money. "Love you too, bro," he said, grinning like he'd won the lottery. "See you at the party." He ended the call, turned, and finally saw me standing at the bottom of the steps in Great Grand's red coat, snowflakes melting on my lashes. His face drained so fast I thought he'd puke right there on the welcome mat. "Zadie, babe." He tried for a smile, but it wobbled and died. "I was just, joking with Tommy. You know how we—" "I know exactly what you were just," I said, soft and sweet as the poison I felt crawling up my throat. He took one stumbling step down, hand out like he still had the right to touch me. "Come on, baby, let's go inside and talk." I moved back, just enough. Don't put those hands on me. Those are the same hands already spending the money they got for selling me." His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Nothing came out but little puffs of steam. Snow started falling harder, sticking to his hair, his shoulders, the porch rail. I looked at him one last second, saw the man I married turn into a stranger who'd trade my life for a boat and a toolbox. Then I walked away and left him standing there like a fish, flopping on the dock, mouth working around words he'd never get to say. Across town, Lena and Dorian were at their perfect colonial, curtains open because they think the whole world loves them. I parked 2 houses down, windows cracked, and listened. Dorian's voice carried through the cold air, sharp and impatient. "Tonight you perform, Lena. Cry if you have to. Tell her how worried we all are, how the miscarriage broke her, how she's been talking crazy since the will. Get her guard down. I'll slide the papers over with the dessert plates." Lena's voice, smaller than I'd ever heard it. "What if she fights?" "Then we call the orderlies waiting in the ambulance out back. Judge already signed the pickup order. She resists, they sedate. Either way, by midnight she's somebody else's problem, and the harbor's ours." I felt the cold seep into my bones, but not fear anymore. Just this pure, clean rage. I drove back to Callum, told him everything I'd heard. He added 2 more recorders to the pile. "Snow's starting," he said, looking out the window. "Roads'll be slick. They won't expect us early." I slipped on Great Grand's red coat. It smelled like salt and cedar, and every summer I ever felt safe. Callum handed me the folder thick as a phone book. "Everything they did to you is in here. Every lie, every dollar, every forged page." I took it. The weight felt right. My phone buzzed. Unknown number, text message with a photo attachment. Judge Hargrove's letterhead. Temporary asset freeze order. Merrill Harbor Holdings. Effective 6 p.m. pending guardianship resolution. Requested by asked. To Dorian Grant. Callum read it over my shoulder and cursed under his breath. "They just pulled the trigger," he said. "If that order hits the bank before we stop them, you lose everything tonight whether you sign or not." I looked out at the snow starting to fall thick and silent, coating the world like it was trying to bury us all. "Let them think they've already won," I said. I buttoned the red coat, slid the folder inside like body armor, and felt Great Grand's hand on my shoulder even though she's been ashes for months. "They want a family dinner?" I told the darkening window. "Let's give them one." Snow came down in sheets by the time I reached Mama's house. The porch light glowed like it was welcoming me home for Christmas instead of my own execution. Cars lined the driveway. Lena's SUV, Dorian's polished Audi, Judge Hargrove's county sedan. Even Chadwick's truck sat crooked, like he'd parked drunk. I walked up the steps in Great Grand's red coat, snowflakes melting on the wool, folder heavy against my ribs. No one had invited me. No one had waited. I pushed the door open without knocking. Every head turned at once. The dining room was set pretty. White tablecloth, candles, the good china nobody uses except when company matters. Mama at the head, Lena and Dorian on her right, Chadwick slouched on the left, Judge Hargrove beside him looking uncomfortable in his cardigan. Plates of roast chicken and mashed potatoes steamed in the middle like this was normal. Conversation died. Mama recovered first, plastering on that Sunday morning smile like nothing was wrong. Zadie, honey, you're late. Come sit. We were just about to say grace. I stepped all the way inside, kicked the door shut hard enough to make the china rattle in the cabinet and the candles flicker. Snow hissed against the windows behind me. I stood there in Great Grand's blood-red coat, collar turned up, melting flakes dripping onto the braided rug. Lena's eyes snapped to the coat and darted away like it burned her. Dorian's jaw locked so tight I heard his teeth click. Chadwick stared at his plate like mashed potatoes could hide him forever. Judge Hargrove cleared his throat, napkin already crumpled in his fist. Miss Merrill, this is a private family matter. Perhaps another time? No, I cut in, voice flat and steady as the tide. This is a crime scene. I walked the length of the table slow, boots leaving wet prints on Mama's precious hardwood, and dropped the thick folder right in the middle of the roast chicken. It landed with a heavy thud that made every fork jump. Mama's eyes narrowed to slits. Sit down and eat your supper before it gets cold, Zadie Ann. I smiled, small and sharp. Oh, I'm not here to eat, Mama. I'm here to serve. I flipped the folder open and pulled out the first photograph, 8 by 10. Glossy. Mama under the mobile lights, scarf slipping, thick yellow envelope-changing hands. I slid it across the white cloth until it stopped in front of Judge Hargrove. Ruth Eleanor Merrill paying Travis Bragg $25,000 cash to run me off the road, I said, calm as reading scripture. 3 nights before my little accident. Timestamp in the corner. Mama didn't blink. Not once. Next page, I laid it down like dealing cards. Forged psychiatric evaluation. Dr. Helen Cho's signature glowing under the candlelight. Dorian Grant, Assistant District Attorney, using county resources to invent a mental breakdown I never had, complete with fake suicide attempts and prescriptions I never filled. Dorian half rose, face purple. That is an outrageous... Sit down. My voice cracked like a whip. He sat. I fanned out Lena's text messages, printed big and bold. As soon as she's committed, everything falls into place. Mama says 2 weeks max. Lena went the color of spoiled milk. Those messages are private. You had no right... Then Chadwick's call log, bright yellow highlighter on the money calls. I dropped it in his lap. Chadwick Merrill negotiating his payout the same night I was bleeding upside down in a ditch, boat included. Chadwick made a wet choking sound, hands fluttering. Zadie, baby, I was drunk. I didn't mean... I looked at every one of them, slow, letting the silence cut deeper than any scream. Y'all sat down to this pretty table planning to drug me, lock me up, and carve up my inheritance like Sunday ham. Smile for the camera. I tapped the phone clipped inside the red coat. Live. Red light blinking. The truth was finally on the table, and none of them could swallow another bite. The room exploded like someone lit a match in a gas tank. Lena came out of her chair first, a high animal scream ripping out of her throat. You recorded us, you sneaky little bitch! She lunged across the table, nails out, mashed potatoes flying. Callum stepped from the hallway shadows, smooth as a ghost, one hand up, phone already live streaming, red light glowing. Evening, everybody, he said, calm as Sunday. Smile, you're on camera. Dorian slammed both palms on the table so hard the candles jumped. This is illegal! Entrapment! Turn that goddamn thing off right now! His voice cracked on the last word, face purple, spit flying. Chadwick stumbled to his feet, chair crashing backward into the china cabinet, hands flapping like surrender flags. Zadie, baby, listen. I never wanted you hurt bad. I swear on my life. It was only supposed to scare you a little, just enough to sign the papers." His voice broke into a whine, eyes wet, beer and fear on his breath. Mama never moved, sat straight as a ruler, hands folded in her lap like she was still waiting for the preacher to call her name. Those gray eyes locked on mine, cold, steady, admitting every single thing without wasting a breath. Judge Hargrove looked like a man watching his retirement catch fire. I was assured this was a voluntary wellness signing for Miss Merrill's own good. "It's attempted murder, Your Honor," Callum cut in, voice slicing clean through the noise. "And we've got every second of this circus on video, including the part where y'all discuss drugging her and locking her away forever." The room went dead quiet. So quiet I could hear Lena's mascara tears hitting the tablecloth and the grandfather clock ticking like a bomb. I looked at them slow, one by one, Lena shaking, lipstick smeared, perfect hair falling in her face, Dorian breathing like a bull, fists clenched white, Chadwick on his knees now, literally on his knees, whimpering my name, Mama still as carved stone, eyes never leaving mine. "You sat down to this pretty table," I said, voice low, steady, carrying to every corner, "with roast chicken and candles, planning to drug me, lock me in a psych ward, and sell what my great-grandmother died protecting. You don't get to call this family anymore." Mama finally spoke, soft as a lullaby and twice as deadly. "You'll ruin us all, Zadie." I leaned in just enough for her to feel the heat off Great-Grand's red coat. "No, Mama," I said. "You did that the night you paid a man to put me in the ground." Snow battered the windows like it wanted in on the fight. Sirens rose in the distance. Close now, red and blue lights already flickering through the curtains. Callum's hand settled warm on my shoulder. "State police are 2 minutes out," he said quiet, just for me. "But they'll play dirty with the law. Prepare for round 2. I looked at the wreckage of what used to be my family, every face cracked open, and felt the red coat wrapped tighter around me like Great-Gran herself had my back. Let them come. I'm still standing. The morning after the dinner, Merrill's Cove woke up choking on the video. Somebody, Callum swears it wasn't him, uploaded the whole showdown to every local Facebook group before the coffee got cold. By 8 o'clock, it was on the Portland News. By noon, it was statewide. By nightfall, it was national. Hashtags: Merrill Harbor, murder plot, matriarch, tried to kill daughter, main family, horror Dorian got hit first and hardest. His face was everywhere, red screaming, slamming the table while I laid out the forged psych records. The prosecutor's office put him on immediate administrative leave. Reporters camped on his perfect lawn. Someone spray-painted liar on his Audi. His secretary quit on live TV, crying that she never knew he could do something like that. The Bar Association opened an emergency ethics review. Every case he ever touched is getting re-examined. Dorian Grant, Golden Boy, was suddenly the face of corruption in a county that still hangs its dirty laundry out to dry. Lena crumbled slower, but it hurt worse because she cared about the shine. Channel 8 called her at 6 in the morning. "Due to the ongoing investigation and public concerns, we're asking you to take a temporary leave of absence, effective immediately." She went on air one last time, lived from her driveway, hair perfect, voice shaking, and tried to spin it as family misunderstanding. The comments tore her apart. Former classmates, old clients, even the church ladies called her Judas in lipstick. Her sponsorships vanished. The women's shelter she chaired asked her to step down. Lena Merrill Grant, the righteous prosecutor, became the villain in every diner from here to Bangor. I didn't watch much of it. I was too busy fighting for what was mine. Callum and I filed the countersuit at 9:03 a.m. Attempted murder, fraud, conspiracy, abuse of power, the whole ugly list. Then the second filing, the one that made the clerks blink twice. Emergency petition to recognize Merrill Harbor Holdings under Passamaquoddy and Penobscot Tribal Trust Law. Great-Gran had quietly enrolled the uplands and water rights with the tribe decades ago. State courts can freeze a Maine LLC all day long, but they can't touch sovereign tribal trust land without federal permission. I watched the registrar stamp it approved and felt the floor steady under my feet for the first time since the crash. Mama, Dorian, and Lena lawyered up fast, some fancy Portland firm that smells like old money and new panic. They flooded the courts with motions: defamation, invasion of privacy, claims the video was doctored, claims I was unstable and coerced Callum. They even tried to get a gag order on me. Judge threw it out in 10 minutes. The harbor stays liquid, for now, but they still had one card. Callum came into the office at dusk, snow on his boots, face grim. "They're not done," he said, dropping a fresh court notice on the desk. Hargrove's emergency freeze order, the one Dorian requested before the dinner, never got vacated. Clerk just called. Hargrove's planning to sign it first thing tomorrow morning, retroactive to yesterday. Says public safety demands it until the guardianship question is settled. I stared at the paper like it might bite. "That order hits at 8:01, Callum said, "and every account, every lease, every dime tied to the harbor freezes solid. Tenants stop paying, banks call loans. We lose momentum, maybe lose the whole fight while it crawls through appeals." I looked out the window at the dark water, lights from the lobster boats blinking red and green through the snow. "They think if they choke the money, I'll fold," I said. Callum leaned against the doorframe. "Will you?" I picked up Great-Grand's red coat from the chair, slid my arms into it slow. "No," I told him. "They taught me my whole life how to survive on nothing. Let them freeze the accounts. The harbor's been here since before Maine was Maine. It'll still be here when their ink runs out." I zipped the coat, felt the weight of her letter still tucked inside the pocket. "Tomorrow morning," I said, "we go to court one more time, and this time I'm not asking permission to exist." Outside, the snow kept falling, thick and quiet, covering every track they ever left. I woke before the alarm, before the gulls even started arguing. The harbor was glass still, low winter sun pouring gold across the water and straight through Callum's east window onto my face like it was trying to warm something that had been cold for years. I stood there in Great-Grand's red coat, coffee untouched, watching the light crawl over the docks that now carried my name. My ribs still ached, my shoulder still clicked, but the pain felt far away, like it belonged to the girl I used to be. Callum came up behind me, quiet. He didn't ask if I was ready. He already knew. I turned to him, the sea light still on my skin. "I'm not just protecting property today," I said, voice steady. "I'm protecting the right to exist inside my own family, the right to be seen without being measured against Lena, the right to take up space without apologizing. That's what Great-Grand left me, not just wood and water, the right to be." He nodded once, slow. "Then let's go make it legal." We drove to the courthouse in silence, tires hissing over fresh snow. The steps were already crowded. Reporters, neighbors, women from church, holding hand-lettered signs, "We stand with Zadie." Someone had tied red ribbons on the railing overnight. Inside, the hearing room smelled like old wood and panic. Dorian in a cheap suit that didn't fit anymore. Lena beside him, eyes swollen, no makeup left to hide behind. Mama in the back row, gray hair pulled tight, staring straight ahead like she was waiting for Jesus instead of justice. Judge Hargrove looked exhausted. The freeze order sat unsigned on the bench in front of him. Callum laid the tribal trust documents down first, thick, official, stamped with seals nobody in that room had ever dared question. Then the countersuit. Then the video affidavits from elders who remembered Great-Grand enrolling the land before any of them were born. I stood when it was my turn. Didn't shake, didn't cry. I was taught my whole life that family means swallowing hurt. I told the room, told the camera in the corner, told every woman watching on their phones. I was taught quiet is the same as gratitude. I'm done. The harbor stays in tribal trust. The freeze is dissolved, and the people who tried to erase me will answer for it in every court that will hear them. The gavel came down clean. Order vacated, harbor safe, for now. Mama never looked at me once. We walked out into blinding morning light. Snow had stopped. The whole town smelled like salt and wood smoke and second chances. I stopped on the courthouse steps, pulled my phone out, and hit record one last time. Hey, beautiful souls. We made it to sunrise. If you've been with me since I woke up bleeding in that car, thank you. Thank you for every comment, every prayer, every "I see you" that kept me breathing when I wanted to disappear. Today the harbor is still mine. Today the law said I get to exist. But this story isn't finished. They still have one move left, and I still have a mother who looked me in the eye and chose money over my heartbeat. So tell me something, from one wounded daughter to another. If it was your mama on the other end of that betrayal, would you forgive her? Put it in the comments. I read every single one, even when they break me open. Hit that follow button if you're not done walking this with me. Share this with the woman who taught you to smile while you bled, because tomorrow the fight might change, but tonight I'm still standing. My phone buzzed in my hand before I could stop recording. Caller ID, Ruth Merrill. A text popped first, 3 gray words that stopped my heart. We need to talk. There's something you don't know. I stared at the screen until the sea light faded and the snow started falling again. Betrayal from strangers is pain. Betrayal from family is a cut that changes your life. See you on the other side, babies. Because whatever she's about to say, I'm finally ready to hear it.